Hello, MF Kraven here, and welcome to Less Than 10 Minute Reviews, a YouTube series where I take a look at niche titles, hidden gems, and often overlooked games to tell you whether or not you should buy them in less than 10 minutes. So if that's the type of content that you like, consider subscribing and liking this video. Today I take a look at SteamWorld Build, a cozy base building resource management strategy game. Based in the SteamWorld universe, you are tasked to help build a community that comes together for each other to ultimately look for greener pastures in space. But is SteamWorld Build worthy of moseying onto reaching the final frontier, or will it run out of steam? Let's find out. Before I get on to the review, I would like to have a few disclosures. I've received this as a press key from the devs. This is a Steam version of the game. The game has a data collection agreement in the beginning. In case this turns you off, clearly it's not a big deal to me, but if it is to you, as a consumer, you should be alerted by members of the press like me. Graphics, sound, and art style. I don't know how to describe the game without saying a bunch of buzzwords, but here I go. Seemingly a post-apocalyptic setting in the Old West inhabited by steampunk-looking robots with personalities straight out of a Nickelodeon 90s cartoon. It's fun, whimsical, detailed, and just overall very pleasing to the eye. The sound effects and soundtrack pair nicely with it, but the voice acting really is the star of the show of this category.
Purpose of my existence.
Lucky that Pa found you then. Sure is nice with someone looking out for us.
Gameplay. There are a few game modes you can do. The story, a sandbox, or just getting into the nitty-gritty of it all with the same objective. Repair the old train station and get your robots to space in a rocket that you'll find about, say, give or take an hour into your playthrough. Well, the story pretty much just follows Astrid, a little girl who can hear ancient technology of her ancestors guided by a entity only known as Core. Then you start building your town, and that's where the fun begins. The game, whether on story mode or regular, is divided into 20 milestones. Upon completing certain tasks like housing X amount of workers, engineers, or having a certain amount of resources / buildings, will put you on to the next milestone and unlock a few more resources and buildings. Your robots are the most important commodity you'll own, so make sure to keep their comforts at optimal levels for best productivity and more tax money. At first, your citizens will only really demand a place to shop and repair themselves. Then, they'll need a coal to keep themselves going, water to drink, and when they evolve into the next phase of robots, they'll want saloons, sheet metal, pickaxes, burgers, you name it. And some resources like the burgers will require you to place a ranch for mechanical cows, among other items to complete said burger. It's all about resource management, but a chart given to you will help track of how much of a resource you're making versus how much you're using. If you run out of an item for whatever reason, you can always use the train station to trade. That comes around every 5 minutes. At first, you'll be limited to the overworld, but there is a secondary portion of the game, the mining. So upon completing the 5th milestone, you'll be tasked with repairing the old mine shaft where set technology is buried. You'll then assign quarters for miners, prospectors, mechanics, and eventually guards. 9 placement spots will equal 1 more worker, but in the mines also lay power-ups that you may use to improve not only your quarters in there, but also buildings on the surface world. After finding 2 parts in the first level, you'll go on to the second, where enemies will start attacking your operations. Luckily, not only guards are available, but also turrets. And all the resources in the mines will help you evolve your robots until they're smart enough to work with space travel. Price, $29.99 USD. How many hours estimated? I'm 12 hours into my gameplay, and it took me approximately 9.5 hours to complete a stage from start to finish. However, I did goof off and try for a few achievements. There are 5 levels to be completed, so if we're going based entirely on this experience in particular, to beat the game, you're in for at least 47 hours of gameplay. Probably a lot less. Is it playable on SteamDeck? Yes, it is, but I'm not really fond of the controls. I found mouse and keyboard to be the best, and it also does drain my battery really quickly. Final thoughts. The Jack of all trades moniker is thrown around a lot, but these guys behind SteamWorld's world truly deserve it. From tower defense to action platformers, roguelikes, and now a city management game, and everything they throw at the wall seems to stick. Now, if any of you caught me calling the game cozy in the beginning, it's because it really is just easy. Once you get into the flow of things, it's only a matter of time before you have an abundance of every resource you may need, and I'm not exactly an expert in this type of genre. It's very reminiscent of the 2-point games where it's silly and no real consequences happen if you fail or if you're out of a resource, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, if you're looking for a challenge, I don't think this game is the one for you. There are some serious missteps as well, as currently there are no hotkeys. I found myself pressing R to bring roads up to build them, but was met with no response. The dynamic of having multiple levels of robots to take care of at first can seem very intimidating, but you'll soon realize that they basically pause whatever they're doing and just wait for you, whether it be in the mines or in the surface level. I would love to have seen my miners build paths or mine for gold while I'm taking care of the city, and yes, prospectors will continue to gather the main resources, and I can see how if the miners excavate certain places, they can mess up paths. Like I had a path with speed boosters set up for my prospectors to touch and blast off to come back with my resources. But a simple fix could have been the ability to place a block to make paths down there. I found myself wanting to guard my thumpers or my turrets whenever I was placing them to attack enemies' spawn points. And speaking of enemies, when they do start attacking you, as long as you have enough guards and turrets set up, you can pretty much ignore them. I'm trying the game in hard and trying the run with no turrets to get that achievement, so I will update this review on how much more difficult it became after the fact. But with all that said, am I going to recommend this? Absolutely. I've had genuine fun like I do with the 2-point games. Before kind of letting my city and mines run on their own, I picked burgers as my resource to trade for anything I may need. In the mines, I kept balancing power-ups between floors, looking tirelessly for gold to hire more guards and get more prospectors. The more citizens you have, the more their needs go up. The more stuff you need, the more workers you need to get those resources. It's a never-ending cycle until it ends and you feel accomplished. Again, I'm not usually the type who plays these type of games, but once I got the formula down, I got it down pretty quickly in my humble opinion. The publisher's biggest oversight, though, is not advertising this more as a cozy game. A lot more people would come check it out, especially the crowd with the Game Pass at their disposal. So on a scale from buy it now, wait for sell, or do not buy, I'm giving this a wait for sell. It's an excellent game, but it feels like the game is in early access. While I do plan to play another playthrough, I also feel like I'm essentially just going to go through the same struggles. Each map isn't different enough for me to want to do it 5 times. Maybe 2. Support for hotkeys would be amazing. Different power-ups could be nice. Having a few different buildings for each citizen would be cool too. I mean, like housing them, you know? Because it's all the same house. And I get it. They're all robots built in the same way, but the decoration that they give you isn't enough to set a community apart. See, at $20, I would have said, buy it now, get it. $20, totally worth it. $30, I'm saying wait for sale.